clones went up to what 18, 19 ETH.
Crazy.
Metakey holders, whoever held this edition, what 2, I think it is, yeah, edition 2, you were able to purchase a Clone X on the retail drop for 0.05.
Yo, he's rocking the Moonbird hat too. Listen, I would argue that might be more rare than all of the BAYC merch.
To be honest, it might be, but hey, I love OG BAYC merch, to be honest. I mean, that's the only part I wear. All the other drops, I've bought plenty of that, but I don't wear it at all. I think a lot of it looks like crap. Metakey, I started to work for them February 22nd, 2022. And that's super easy because it's just 22222. I followed DCL Blogger for a while because he was one of the main figureheads in the space, especially out of Australia. I'd say other than huge investors like project leads and thought leaders, probably Maddie and Zeneca were probably the top 2 out of Australia. Followed him around for a while, liked his philosophy, loved the approach of the open metaverse and the interoperability of your assets. And hey, he said, hey, I'm going to be dropping a project in the next month. Followed along that timeline. He said, okay, I'm going to drop the project tomorrow. I remember this is kind of at the beginning of my NFT flipping journey. I was being like a little cheap in a way. Like I didn't want to put too much money in, even though we made a bit from Top Shot. I didn't want to put too much money into Ethereum, right? And so when his first drop happened, and it was 0.2, I think Ethereum per key, I actually didn't even have enough to buy edition 1, even though I was there for the drop. So that was kind of disappointing. And from that night, actually, that had a big deal in my journey, because from that night, I told myself, like, hey, I don't ever want to not be able to buy this or something like this in the future. So I'm going to work my butt off to be able to have money in the wallet to buy things like this. And, fast forward just 2-3 months later, everything went wild. But yeah, that's kind of my beginning of my NFT journey, and with Metakey.
That is wild. And since then, they've come out with a number of different keys. So that's where some new people that are looking at Metakey might stumble a bit. So is every key the same? Because before you jumped on here, we were looking over what you guys offered, and it was collaborations. It was identity within different spaces. You guys were building out things in Decentraland, Sandbox, Somnium space. There's a whole lot going on. But what's the difference between the 4 different keys that we see in front of us?
It's the price. No, I'm just kidding. Back up 1 second. I forgot to answer part of your question. My role with them is the partnerships and integration lead at the Metakey. So I pretty much contact projects within not only the Web3 space, but also the existing kind of Web2 space, whether it's a physical building. Like we've worked with real estate property companies. We've worked with software companies, the whole scope and the whole gamut. The difference between the editions, really, we call the first 3 editions collector's editions 1, 2, and 3. Those have somewhat of a significance. I'll explain it in a little bit. And then edition 4 is a non-collector edition, but they were all the same price at retail, 0.2. Now, on some partnerships, and not all of them, so depends on what we agree on, we have to kind of balance things, because I think across all the keys, there's maybe roughly 10,000 editions or so. And so for all of our partnerships, we obviously can't throw 10,000 items out there each time, especially if they're going to be on-chain, NFTs or fully NFTs. We have to work within the parameters that are acceptable to both us and our partners. With that being said, sometimes we might say edition 1 will get priority access or guaranteed access to this, whereas edition 4, maybe you're on the cusp of not getting something. Other partnerships, they may be, you all get the same thing. So let's say you all get an outfit in a metaverse or a game. Well, technically, they all receive the same benefit, but the edition 1 will have that rarity of looking like a special edition. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they all get the same benefit. So it doesn't matter which key you buy, you're all going to get an outfit, an in-game asset, a weapon to use, same type of metaverse access, same discount to whoever we partner with. It may just look aesthetically different.
Yeah, the special edition drip. Good call on that, Lorax. You guys have chosen different artists for some of these different keys, and one of the reasons why that's notable is because for the artifact key, you've gotten into some really, really sweet things from that. How's that process kind of be? And for anyone that's just looking at Metakey for the first time, what are some of the previous whitelist or opportunities you guys have given for other mints?
I'm trying to think of specific ones, but we just went over the numbers last year, and we do allow lists and whitelists a little bit different at Metakey. If we threw every single one that came to us, like, hey, we want to offer you guys a allow list, it'd be nearly every single day, almost every other day, pretty much, that we could post one. But we're a little bit more like selective and thorough with them, because if we did that, probably 85% of those are just rug pulls and cash grabs. But we had, I think, 23 or 25 unique allow lists over the last year. So that's basically two per month. So, which is actually pretty good with the thoroughness and selectiveness that we have. Now, are they all bangers? Probably not. But did they absolutely rug? That's no to that either, right? So there's different approaches that projects can take. That's the approach that we took. But for artifacts specifically, that one ended up being a huge banger for us, because you got one free mint of a Clone X. So if for those who aren't familiar with the artifact ecosystem and how Clone X's came to be, if you owned a first party artifact asset pre Clone X IP and everything else, before the code name even dropped, right? There was a snapshot that was taken, and you were able to mint a Clone X for, like, I don't even know, 0.05, but up to 3 of them per artifact asset that you own. Now they decided to include the artifact Metakey, with the caveat that you could only purchase up to 1. But that ended up being, again, just a huge win. Anyways, clones went up to what, 18, 19 ETH.
Crazy.
Metakey holders, whoever held this edition, what, 2? I think it is. Yeah, edition 2, you were able to purchase a Clone X on the retail drop for 0.05.
It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. So I'm curious, right quick, how do you vet somebody? Because that's a huge problem within the space.
Credit score and no. We have meetings with everybody. I have video call meetings with them. I had tons of chats and emails. Like that, I check their website. I go to their domains. I do not a full on like security like background check, but I check out even their social profiles. Right, like, did this guy buy an account? Did this team buy followers? We check how many are real or fake. So we do we put in thorough efforts. There's not like a standard process, but I check a lot of boxes whenever we work with somebody. So that way, it's, again, we're not just working with anybody out there, and especially that helped us going into that bear market when all these projects started dropping like flies, and they just hit the road and pack their bags. Um, for us, things didn't really change. It's like, because we're working with the people up here, and all those projects were down here, right? So uh, I think our mailbox got a little more empty, right? Because we're not getting spammed. But at the same time, the pieces of mail that we're actually opening was pretty much the same.
The vision that you guys have is, when we're talking about some of these different partnerships, it's something that and you probably view as like a bonus or an extra. But we are going over your website and everything before. You guys have deep dives into different NFT projects. You have kind of, the alpha chats per se, on top of the different partnerships that are, collaborations for key holders to get that's beyond whitelist, right? That's an actual NFT or something else, because some of the whitelists, it does require you to buy, because I think for that Clone X one, it was one that you had to purchase, albeit totally worth it at the time. But what are some of the other things that Metakey offers its holders that might be something that people underrate?
It's probably the team that you're buying into, and we. I'll finish this and then I'll go back to the previous question, because I think the viewers want to know like more about the boxes that we do check off.
Sure.
So I'd say we have a staff of around 40 employees that are purely like just heads down, a concept artists, 3D modelers, game devs, social media strategy team, marketing team, um, financial analysts, and like accountants. Like, we have the whole gamut. So it's not just, you know, 3 random people trying to put something together. It's like a full on uh, corporate staff, and we had our seed round of what, $6-7 million last year. We're backed by Animoca Brands. Like, I think you're buying into people who are still here, obviously, and we're building out different platforms. So so far we've only discussed actually our Genesis drop, which is the Metakey, but we haven't talked about our PFP follow up, which is the Metacrew, and how those are probably the most versatile avatars actually in the space that I can think of. And I've ran through this in my head many times because obviously I work with them and I own a lot of PFPs, but I think you can use Metacrews in more spaces than any other PFP project that's out there right now. I'm pretty sure that's true, unless there's one that's completely off the radar that I don't know about. Backing up to the last question, so depending how significant the partnership is or the collaboration is, like we'll go as far as obviously we got to know the government name. We'll probably see them on video call. We have these agreements in place where have signatures, have fees where like if one of us doesn't follow through, again the checking the amount of fake followers on their Twitter. We go in their Discord, see if it's filled with bots. Do they buy bots to like chat in there? What else? Checked who they've worked with in the past. Ask them how that went. If they tried to rug or anything like that. Yeah, the main thing I think is getting on a call with them, literally video call, knowing their name, being able to call them by their name. Even it's like a formality thing, but we even know where they're from. So like last person I was on a call with yesterday, he's in Frankfurt, Germany, or just outside of it, and I know his real name. I can see his face, right? And so those are some of the top boxes, but we even go below that.
You guys cover a little bit of everything, but I mean that's the thing that's interesting with you guys is I feel like it's probably like a broader scope of what you're doing compared to a lot of other collections that have their singular vision. Like, would you classify yourself as like an accessory to some other collections right now with that changing? Because I know you guys are getting heavy into gaming, which I want to get to now, but I feel like initially when I thought of Metakey, I thought, okay, this is the collection that's partnered with everybody that's kind of an accessory, but it feels like you guys are slowly transitioning to being kind of your own entity where you're bringing all the other partnerships and stuff to you, where you guys are now the focal point.
Yeah, so our project isn't set up to be where we develop things in a silo. Like it's all about the Metakey brand. Our project from the get go is on the philosophy and the structure of Metakey is like a cross, right? It's horizontal. It's not a vertical build. It's not a vertical project where we're trying to keep the IP within house, right? We partner. Our whole goal is to partner across platforms and dApps and services and games and everything else that you can potentially integrate into and have these interoperable assets. Like that's our main goal and our main vision. So it's not just Metakey. It's Metakey and or so and so and Metakey, and it's always going to be that way. So we want to have we're approaching holders with a value proposition and a best bang for your buck where you pay the one-time fee kind of the key itself. So retail 0.2 or you buy whichever one you want on secondary. But then from there it's passive, right? You don't even have to stake your key. You don't put it in another wallet. You don't have to burn your key for any any airdrop that we do. It's all passive. So if it's in your wallet, then we take care of the rest.
I like the MMO aspect. Is that the main vision? We're seeing the game, we're seeing the world's end. I'm like, okay, that looks amazing, but obviously MMOs take a hell of a long time to make. So is it going to be kind of like small iterations of that MMO? Is it going to be side games? What do we need to know?
Yeah, first of all, it's called New Ganymede, and that's a raw trailer, which is also early on. I'm not saying like the sky is the ceiling or anything like that, but what I'm saying is a lot of games like to put in or build environments where it's meant for cinematic aspects, and they add atmospheric things like fog and depth of field and everything like that. That's literally a raw camera going through that build environment, recording that stuff. So there's like no fluff added onto it. So that's like what you're seeing is what you get at that point in time. Obviously, they've made updates. I'm not going to say it now looks like like an Avatar movie, but I just want people to realize like we're trying to be like real and raw with that, and so that way your expectations aren't here, and then like you get into the game and you're like, this is not what I saw in the cinematic trailer. Um, so like Parallel just dropped a teaser trailer for their alpha coming out. That thing looks amazing in world, but none of that's actually going to be in game, right? It's just going to be
Right,
like
right.
Gods Unchained, a little launcher, boom, get in the game. It's just a sci-fi looking board. So with that little clarification, it is an MMORPG. We will have a battle pass type of reward system in there, like tiers. So it's free to play. You don't have to own anything Metakey or Metacrew. There's a free tier, there's a Metakey tier, and there's a Metacrew tier. So as you play the game, and along with these experiences, you earn in-game assets and or NFTs. So there's the leveling up process, but as you said, we will have those. What is Destiny call them? Where you go on these? Oh, it's raids, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
the word is raids. Yeah, so we'll have these missions, and some of them or a lot of them will probably be first party, but we're also going to be looking to collaborate with others, with other projects to build like a raid specifically for them, right? Missions and objectives and
Oh, that's
tasks,
sweet.
co-partnered with other brands. Um, so I'm looking forward to that. And in that, you'll not only be able to earn like, I don't know, give me a project, Cool Cats. Let's say we partner with Cool Cats. Definitely not, but let's say we did. And there's an in-game asset that you can earn for New Ganymede to be able to use like in your little house or structure, your base, which is in New Ganymede. Every player will have their own customizable house. But then you're also going to be able to use that NFT somewhere like in their world. So that's that interoperability aspect. And we're building, I want to say what we're building New Ganymede for that 10 to 20-minute experience, right? We know, hey, there's pretty much there's not going to be any gamers. There's going to be a very, very, very small subset of gamers that are going to grind New Ganymede, right? Like spend hours on New Ganymede. We're building it for that 10, 20-minute experience for you to get in, do your thing, get out, and hopefully go to other worlds and events that we may or may not be a part of. We actually have portals. We saw a little bit of it in the trailer, but we have a portal within New Ganymede because it's a desktop client that you'll be able to go into and then launch Sandbox, launch
Oh,
Decentraland,
okay,
launch
cool.
Somnium Space.
But within your specific regions or just the client overall?
So that, let's say like Decentraland, Decentraland's desktop and web browser, but let's just say you went into that portal. That one will probably open up, have a call to your browser to open up the web app, right? Sandbox is a desktop client, so it'll probably trigger the launch of that client. So it won't be
Gotcha.
within the same client. That kind of a little bit of an asterisk because we're building on Unreal Engine. And so there may be some cool things that we can do with other partners in metaverses. But yeah, if they're not on Unreal, then it'll probably just be a call to launch theirs.
Awesome. Well, scrolling through the site a little bit more, you guys are also highlighting that you're doing large scale festivals. And, it makes me think in a way, kind of like, hey, Sandbox was supposed to be this one where all these events and whatnot are happening, but it's, still not around yet. So do you guys foresee yourself as that? Or when you say that you're wanting to do large scale festivals, is it a different train of thought?
I'd say, oh, got an echo now.
Oh, I think you're fine on my end.
That's weird. Anyways, I'll go with it.
Oh, you know what? It's me. I just muted it. You should be good.
Okay. the way we've done it up to this point, and again, it's not saying this is how we're going to do it forever because we have our own metaverse and MMO coming up. The way we've done it up to this point is pretty much partner with brands, Web3 or Web2, to have an activation within Decentraland. So you've seen what we've done with the Australian Open. We even had a concert with Nancy Ajram and Marshmello, like a single release in Decentraland at our nightclub. Um, we had our Bollywood event where that was pretty large scale as well. Again, you attend, you get all types of skins and outfits. We've partnered with conferences that are happening in the real world, and at the same time, like in parallel with that, there's an event going on in Decentraland. So you can attend the conference and watch the live stream of it within the HQ or the property that we built, and get the same type of information and knowledge and lessons and learning that the people are getting in the real world. But then you're also earning again those airdrops or skins or outfits or weapons, whatever, with as an NFT.
That's sweet. That's really sweet. Well, I mean, you guys have had some like major partnerships too with the Australian Open, which is something that we haven't talked about. And I know you were really high on before. So, can you talk a little bit about how that process happened? Were you involved with that, or was that prior to kind of you taking over that role?
The initial one happened before I got there, just before actually, because the AO is in always in January. I got there in February. But yeah, that Genesis launch ended up pretty good, especially if you're a tennis fan. Now, if you're a tennis fan, I'd question. If you're not, I'd question as to like why you're buying the AO in the first place. But if you're a tennis fan, like that project ended up being super super sweet. Um, the things that it got you access to, not only at the AO but to other events like NFT NYC, I got to literally learn and play with Stan Smith, which is like a he's an older guy now, but he's a former world number one. He won the Australian Open and a couple other events. But I got the access to play at the Vanderbilt tennis court in Grand Central Station in New York because I owned an AO art ball. Right.
Nice.
We got VIP field tickets to, I think it was the Mets. Yeah, the Mets. So Bartolo and Chukan got to be able to do that because of the art ball. So different sports experiences across the world. Again, these access and benefits that you got from the art ball ended up being super super cool. And then for the AO23, which is this month, I think next week maybe, or at the end of next week it starts. If you owned an AO22 ball, you actually got a free mint, a free claim of the AO23 ball. So you didn't have to buy it over again. Right now, they added additional spaces. And a brief thing on the AO, because I want to spend all of our time talking to this. Actually, I think I got a few minutes left. But they split the court into this grid. And with the ball, if your ball landed on your unit square on a game-winning shot, the metadata of that NFT updated in its display case, and it got a little badge on it, and that was special. And then from the AL22, so let's say that was the women's semifinals game-winning shot, and you own that NFT of that unit square. Well, actually, they gave you tickets for this year, AL 2023, to go to the women's semifinals.
That's sick.
So that shot earned you tickets, real life tickets, to go to that same match the following year. So yeah, just things like that. But now the way that their revenue model is, now they've cut the grid up a little bit more. So they've added, I think, 2,000 spots or so. So that way they can get that additional revenue this year. But all the other grid positions that existed from last year, they got a free mint.
That's sweet. That's really, really cool.
One thing I wanted to shout out for sure in the last couple minutes is we essentially have, sorry, I stuck up three, four cornerstones. Four cornerstones of the Metakey. One is our Genesis collection, which is the Metakey we talked about, edition 1, 2, 3, 4. Those keys. We have our PFP, which are the Metacrew, which again I think, in my opinion, is one of the most versatile avatars in the entire space in terms of where you can use that. We have pixel versions, voxel versions, low poly, high poly, across multiple metaverses, and then we have our Web3 learning and education platform, which is called the Metacademy, and that's Metacademy with a K. Metacademy.com. It's free to use for anybody. You don't have to own a Metakey or a Metacrew. You can choose to create an account. You don't even have to create an account. Go take these paths and courses. You're going to earn experience and reward points along the way. You're going to be able to use those for physical, digital, or digital items in the future, different raffles and whatnot. You earn POAPs and different certificates on chain based on what you learn in the Metacademy. And then our last one is again the new Ganymede, the MMORPG coming out. Hopefully, we have an outfit this year. There's no promises. We haven't stated any hard timeline, but we're excited to get that out to holders.
And I want to give one last thing here. You guys have an unbelievably large team,
And
I
that's
think
not
it's
even all of them on the site.
I mean, it's really cool to see all the faces and the names of these people, and it's not just an avatar. It's it's real. But can you give us a quick little lowdown of any kind of notable people on here that we should know about?
All of them, man. I tip my hat to all of them. I think every single one of them is just not only like a better employee, but just a better person than me, to be honest. I can't say enough about our team. Every single person that's on there, no matter what position or when they started, every single one of them is talented. The process that they go through to be a part of Metakey, there's like a real passion check there, and I think every one of them checks the box. And they work hard. They live and breathe whatever project that they're working on, and yeah, just can't say enough about those people.
Love to hear it. So, guys, if you are intrigued by what YoJurmy's had to say today, I've thrown the Metakey Twitter down there in the chat. Jeremy, I appreciate you coming on, drinking the Texas water. Love to see it. But appreciate you, and hopefully we'll be able to do this again sometime soon.
Yeah, would love to give you guys an update here in probably a month or two.
Hell yeah. Love it. All right. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll talk soon.
See you, boss.